Hello all, this is discussion on pneumoconiosis. So what is pneumoconiosis? It is a non-neoplastic lung reaction due to inhalation of mineral dust encountered in the workplace. So these mineral dust can either be organic or inorganic, which on inhalation the lung develops certain non-neoplastic reactions. Pneumoconiosis are actually an occupational disorder. On pulmonary function test, pneumoconiosis will generally have a restrictive pattern. This is the list of pneumoconiosis. So here the first one, the dust is the coal dust, for which the diseases are anthracosis, you can have progressive massive fibrosis. And then next one is your silica. Silica can lead on to cause silicosis, and asbestos does not only cause asbestosis but it causes a group of disorders like pleural plaques, mesothelioma, carcinomas, etc. And beryllium causes berylliosis. Okay. Now, about pathogenesis of pneumoconiosis, it basically depends on these four factors to say whether the pneumoconiosis develop or not. The amount of dust retained in the lungs and airways is the first one. So amount of dust retains again depends upon the other three factors, that is concentration in ambient air, duration of exposure and effectiveness of clearance mechanism. The second one is the size, shape and buoyancy of the particle. It is said 1 to 5 micrometers particle size will have more tendency to cause pneumoconiosis. This is because particles of this size can travel all the way up to your distal respiratory tract. So it can cause pneumoconiosis. Next is your particle solubility and physiochemical reactivity. And fourth one is additional effects of other irritants like your tobacco smoking or your pollutants in the air, etc. So once the particles reaches your respiratory system, it reaches the distal portion of your respiratory system. These particles are taken up by the epithelial cells in the alveoli. So once it's either taken up by the epithelial cells or what happens, these particles will cross the epithelial lining and will be taken up by the macrophages and the fibroblast in the interstitium. So once the epithelial cells or the macrophages taken up the particles, what happens? These particles will activate the inflammasome when phagocytosed by the macrophages. So activation of inflammasome will lead on to inflammation, which lead on to the clinical diseases or manifestations. So speaking about specific pneumoconiosis, first one is your coal workers pneumoconiosis. So it is due to inhalation of coal particles and dust. So people who are working in coal mining are the most vulnerable groups. Apart from that, people who uses coal for cooking can also develop coal workers pneumoconiosis. But most importantly, people who use coal for cooking are more prone to develop malignancy than people who are working in the coal mining regions. And coal dust is the main culprit. So what all are the clinical manifestations? It can be either asymptomatic anthracosis or a simple coal workers pneumoconiosis or complicated coal workers pneumoconiosis, or you can have Kaplan syndrome. Okay. So you know the pathogenesis, the coal dust taken up by the epithelium or macrophages, activation of inflammasome, inflammation occurs. Okay. So how the morphology appears? So the first one is anthracosis. This anthracosis is completely asymptomatic. Only when you take up a chest x-ray or you do a tissue biopsy or you do some other test where you can find out, okay, the person has anthracosis. Otherwise, it's completely asymptomatic. In this, what you can see is the carbon particles are taken up by the alveolar and the interstitial macrophages, and these macrophages are accumulate in the connective tissue along the lymphatics. That's what macrophages take up the carbon particles and they accumulate in the connective tissues. Next is your simple coal workers pneumoconiosis. This is also mostly it is asymptomatic, and in this you can see classically the coal macules. So these coal macules are nothing, it is of 1 to 2 mm in diameter and they contain carbon laden macrophages. That's it. So histologically when you see, you can see the carbon laden macrophages. Most commonly involved are the upper lobes and upper zone of the lower lobes. Next, the next one is your complicated cold workers pneumoconiosis. What happens? These cold macules, they keep enlarged and they join accumulate to form a blackened scars which is of 1 centimeter or larger. So in complicated cold workers pneumoconiosis, you have characteristically blackened scars of 1 centimeter or large, which can be even seen grossly, you can see it. Usually they are multiple, and the lesion they basically contains your dense collagen. Along with that, you can have the carbon pigments inside the macrophages. And at the center, you can see necrosis due to local ischemia. So the center, you can see the ischemia surrounded by which you have the collagen and the macrophages with the cold particles. This is your complicated cold workers pneumoconiosis. Next, so your clinical features. What happens? The complicated cold workers pneumoconiosis is also called as your progressive massive fibrosis. So only in 10% of the people exposed to all the coal mining develops your progressive massive fibrosis. They are usually benign, but in some cases, they can lead on to pulmonary dysfunction, pulmonary hypertension, and even carpulmonary, that is the right heart failure. So usually, other than that, your anthracosis and simple cold worker pneumoconiosis are generally asymptomatic. Next, what is this Kaplan syndrome? This Kaplan syndrome is nothing but a complicated cold worker pneumoconiosis in patient with rheumatoid arthritis. Patient who is having rheumatoid arthritis is also having complicated cold workers pneumoconiosis. This is your Kaplan syndrome. And generally, there is no evidence of predisposing to tuberculosis and cancer in coal workers pneumoconiosis. However, people who use coal for cooking have chance of developing cancer. So the next one is the silicosis. Silicosis is the most common pneumoconiosis. So what is silicosis is due to the inhalation of crystalline silicon dioxide, that is the silica. This is the active particle. Due to the inhalation of the silicon dioxide, inflammation occurs. Basically, where you can commonly see this in sandstone, rock, granite, people who work with this marble, all these people are more prone for developing silicosis. And usually, either the coal workers pneumoconiosis or silicosis or asbestosis, all the new, it requires a sufficient time of exposure, normally minimum 10 years. Okay. So in silicosis, what happens? There are two forms of your silica. That is, one is crystalline form and another one is your amorphous form. In this, the crystalline form, that is the quartz, are more fibrogenic, that is, are more pathogenic. And African Americans are at higher risks. So, this is the pathogenesis. The crystalline form, as I said, people working in your granite, stone, marble industries and all exposed to the silica particles, and in that particularly the crystalline form is more pathogenic. So after inhalation of this silica particles, they are phagocytosed by the macrophages, activate the inflammasome, because of which inflammatory mediators are released, especially interleukin 1 and interleukin 18, which lead on to inflammation. So looking into the morphology, what you can see in a silicosis is actually a nodule, a tiny pale or blackened nodule, which are usually seen in the upper zones of the lung and also in the hilar lymph nodes. So both coal worker pneumoconiosis as well as silicosis are more commonly seen in the upper lobes of the lung. These nodules can sometimes even coalesce into hard collagenous scars. So grossly you can see a tiny nodules which sometimes can coalesce to form a scars. Histologically, when you can see a central area of whorled collagen fibers. That is, you can see in this picture, you can see a central region of collagen fibers, and the peripheral zone you can see dust laden macrophages. Macrophages containing silica can be seen. So this is about the histology. And then radiologically, you can see eggshell calcification. So what is eggshell calcification? Basically, the lymph nodes are calcified in the silicosis. So when you take the radiological picture or the X-ray picture of your lymph nodes, what you can see around the zone of your non-calcified region, that is your lymph node, you can see a layer of calcification. So this appears like an eggshell. So that is the eggshell calcification which can be seen. So the clinical course. Silicosis is slow to kill. That is, it takes a minimum of 10 to 30 decades after exposure to develop the clinical manifestations. And once the manifestations occur, there will be an impaired pulmonary function which may severely limit activities. Apart from that, silicosis also double the risk for developing cancer, and it also have an increased chance of developing tuberculosis. Okay. So in this, we have been constantly saying it takes 10 minimum a decade, that is 10 to 30 years after exposure to develop pneumoconius. But you have an entity in silicosis called acute silicosis. It is a special feature of silicosis. That is, acute silicosis occurs after a week or month of exposure to fine eye silica. So fine dust eye silica can cause acute silicosis in weeks or months of exposure. It is very rare. Histologically, when you see, you can see there is an accumulation of lipoproteinaceous material within the alveoli. So histologically, it is very identical to the alveolar proteinosis. So this is about the acute silicosis. Within months or weeks, you develop the clinical manifestations. And histologically, you can see a lipoproteinaceous material within the alveoli, which is morphologically identical to the pulmonary alveolar proteinosis. Next, the most another important feature with silicosis is the silicotuberculosis. Silicosis is associated with an increased susceptibility to tuberculosis. So what is the reason is, this crystalline silica inhibits the ability of the pulmonary macrophages to kill phagocytosed mycobacterium. So because of which, once the mycobacteria enters, the TB starts developing. So silicotuberculosis is a clinical feature seen in 10% of the people with silicosis. So it is a feature of silicosis. Next, we are going to see about the asbestosis and the related disorders. So here also, it is nothing, your exposure to the pro-inflammatory crystalline hydrated silicates. That's what. So in asbestosis, your exposure again to the asbestos fibers. This leads to a group of disorders. Okay, it varies from a fibrous plaque. Okay, a fibrous plaque in the pleura, a pleural plaque. It can be a pleural effusion. It can be a interstitial fibrosis, which we call the asbestosis. And then it can even cause all your malignancies, starting from lung carcinoma, mesotheliomas, both pleural and parietal, and the laryngeal ovarian neoplasms are also seen. Okay. So pathogenesis. In asbestosis, we have two geometric forms of asbestos, that is your serpentine form and amphibole form. Both serpentine form and the amphibole form are pathogenic. However, the amphiboles are more pathogenic. The reason is, serpentines have a curly pattern. It will have a curly pattern. So once it enters the respiratory system, in the upper respiratory tract itself, due to its curly nature, it gets curled up. So it is easily thrown out by your mucociliary mechanism. Whereas your amphiboles are straight and stiff. So they align themselves in the airstream and are delivered deeper into the lungs. So they easily penetrate the epithelial cells and reach the interstitium. So because of their shape, that is serpentine is curly and the amphiboles are straight, amphiboles have a more pathogenic tendency. However, both are pathogenic, that is fibrogenic, and most important is they have a tumor initiator and promoter feature. they themselves can generate certain free radicals, oxidative stress can be developed, which can lead on to tumor initiation. Or else, what is said is this asbestos can also pick up certain carcinogenic products. For instance, a person who is exposed to the asbestos fibers is also smoking. In that case, when these asbestos fibers enter the lungs, it also takes up the carcinogenic products in the smoke. Okay, so the carcinogenic product in the cigarette smoke are taken up and are absorbed by the asbestos fibers, which can then develop your tumor. So it has both fibrogenic as well as tumor initiator and promoter features. So this is the pathogenesis, which is phagocytosis by macrophages activate the inflammasome and the release of inflammatory mediators, so the inflammation and fibrosis occur. Okay. So now about the morphology. Asbestos, it causes a group of disorders. So the first one we see is the asbestosis, that is diffuse pulmonary interstitial fibrosis. In the lung, the interstitium, there is a diffuse fibrosis. Here it begins in the lower lobes and subpleurally. The other two pneumoconiosis we have seen, that is your silicosis and cold worker pneumoconiosis, are more common in the upper lobes, whereas your asbestosis is more common in your lower lobes. And next, histologically, you can see asbestos bodies. So what is this asbestos bodies? They appear golden brown, fusiform or beaded shape. So golden brown and fusiform or beaded shape. And they consist of asbestos fibers coated with an iron containing proteinaceous material. So asbestos fibers coated with an iron containing proteinaceous material. It is called the asbestos bodies, and it is one of the ferruginous bodies. So the iron is derived from the phagocyte ferritin. So this is what you can see in your asbestosis. That is, you can see a diffuse interstitial fibrosis and you can see asbestos bodies histologically. Next is your pleural plaque. So when you looked into cold workers pneumoconiosis or your silicosis, they generally pertain themselves only to the lung. They didn't involve much the pleura. But the asbestosis, they involve pleura, and in asbestos exposure, the most common clinical presentation is your pleural plaque actually. So what is this pleural plaque? It's actually a well circumscribed plaque of dense collagen. So inflammation, fibrosis, it's lead on to collagen deposition, and often it can be even calcified. It is usually seen in the anterior and the posterolateral aspect of the parietal pleura and over the domes of the diaphragm. So it is usually well circumscribed, rarely it can become diffuse. So because of this pleural plaque, you can also have pleural effusion. This is called as benign asbestos related pleural effusion, BAPE. It is usually serous, but sometimes it can be also bloody. So as of now, we have seen three. One is the pleural plaque and the pleural effusion, and the other one is your asbestosis. So the other ones are your carcinomas. Either it can as such cause the lung carcinoma, it can cause even the mesothelioma of either the pleura and the parietal pleura as well as the peritoneal region, as well as it can also cause your ovarian and laryngeal carcinomas. So it is also involved more with your neoplasm. Next is your clinical course. Here also, after a prolonged exposure 2 to 3 decades, you develop the clinical presentation. Usually they will have dyspnea. And then when you look into the clinical course, they can remain static or progress to respiratory failure and cor pulmonale and death as well. But generally pleural plaques are the most common and they are usually asymptomatic. When you do a chest x-ray, you can see the linear densities, particularly in both the lower lobes, and you can see the honeycomb pattern. So that's about your pneumoconiosis.